Welcome to My ADHD Relationship, your evidence-based guide to navigating love, friendship, and family life through the lens of ADHD. Today, we are diving into a really tough part of the journey, high-stakes risks. If you're parenting a teen boy with ADHD, you might feel like you're living in a constant state of worry. That thrill-seeking, those impulsive decisions, honestly, it can be terrifying and absolutely exhausting. So today, we're going to unpack why this happens and what the science says we can actually do about it. Okay, let's get right to the single most important idea we're going to talk about. I want you to really let this sink in. What you're seeing in your son is not a moral feeling. It is not a choice to be defiant. It is the direct result of a neurobiological difference in his brain. Truly understanding that one point, well, it changes everything about how we can approach this. And that leads us to the two big questions we're going to answer today. First, what is actually going on inside the ADHD brain that drives this intense kind of risk-taking? And second, once we understand the why, what are the brain-friendly strategies that can actually make a real difference? To get those answers, we've got to pop the hood, so to speak. We need to take a look at the unique neurobiology of the ADHD brain, especially during those wild adolescent years. First up is dopamine. Now think of the ADHD brain as constantly being understimulated. It's not getting enough of this key neurotransmitter that helps with focus and feeling rewarded. So that nonstop search for novelty, for thrills, for high-intensity experiences, it's not just him being restless. It's a powerful chemical drive. It's his brain's way of self-medicating to try and get its stimulation up to a normal functional level. Next, we have what's called an inhibitory control deficit. But honestly, the best way to think about it is an absent pause button. Here's the thing. Your son probably knows the right thing to do. He gets the danger. The problem is a breakdown in skill. The brain's wiring makes it incredibly hard to find that pause between having an impulse and acting on it. And this one. This is a huge piece of the puzzle. Time blindness. For the ADHD brain, time isn't a smooth line. It's split into two buckets. A very intense, very real now, and a fuzzy, abstract not now. This is exactly why telling him he's grounded next week has zero effect. In that moment, the future consequence just isn't real to his brain. It's neurologically invisible. So when you put it all together, you've got this, well, it's a neurological double whammy. You have the prefrontal cortex, the brain's brake pedal that's maturing, on average up to 3 years behind schedule. At the exact same time, you have the dopamine system, the brain's gas pedal, that is floored, desperately seeking stimulation. A delayed brake and a supercharged engine. That's the basic architecture we're dealing with. Okay, so that's the brain science. But let's talk about how this stuff actually translates into the real world. Because these aren't just concepts, they have measurable and sometimes scary outcomes. Let's start with a tough one. Individuals with ADHD are over 2.5 times more likely to develop a substance use disorder. That intense drive for an immediate, powerful reward makes substances incredibly reinforcing for that understimulated brain. And when you break it down by substance, the risk is pretty significant across the board. We're talking nearly 3 times the likelihood for nicotine and much higher risks for alcohol and marijuana. And here is a crucial point. The research shows that even with stimulant medication, this underlying vulnerability doesn't just magically disappear. And then, of course, there's driving. A newly licensed driver with ADHD faces a crash risk that's at least 36% higher than their peers. And it makes sense, right? It's a direct result of that missing pause button and attention struggles playing out in what is basically a high-speed, real-time test of executive function. These statistics, they don't even begin to capture the emotional weight, the strain these behaviors put on the entire family. It can create this exhausting cycle of fear and conflict and just feeling worn out. If you feel like you're always on edge in a state of hypervigilance, I want you to know you're not alone. It's a completely natural response. Parents often end up trying to be the external prefrontal cortex for their teen, micromanaging every little thing to make up for their kids' lagging brain development. And while it comes from a place of love, it almost always creates friction. So we keep coming back to our core message, because this is the mindset shift that unlocks everything. The moment we can see the behavior as a problem of a missing skill, not a problem of bad character, we can finally move from punishment to teaching, from conflict to collaboration. And you can see the difference so clearly here. The old way, delayed punishments, shaming, it just doesn't work for a time-blind brain. The new, brain-friendly approach is all about immediate consequences, building those missing skills, and, maybe most importantly, repairing the relationship. Okay, so we understand the why. Now let's really get into the how. We're going to cover 3 evidence-based strategies that are designed to work with the ADHD brain, not against it. Strategy number 1 is dopamine channeling. The drive for intensity is a feature, not a bug. Our goal isn't to suppress it, it's to steer it. Things like high-focus sports, think boxing or rock climbing, or complex hobbies like robotics or drone racing, they provide the exact kind of intense, immediate feedback that the ADHD brain craves, but in a safe, structured way. Now, to fight that time blindness, we have to make time tangible. We have to make it something you can see. Use big visual timers, giant wall calendars. We have to help them connect a decision made right now to a consequence that happens very soon. You have to break down those distant, not now goals into timing achievable now actions. You're basically teaching the brain how to see the future. And finally, strategy 3. You have to build the safety net together. Co-creating the rules gives your son ownership and buy-in. And when a rule is broken, the consequence has to be immediate and logical. For instance, losing car access the second he gets home for speeding, not for a week starting on Monday. Then, right after, the focus has to shift to repairing the relationship and figuring out what skill broke down. So if there is one key takeaway from all of this, it's this. The energy, that drive for intensity, the novelty seeking, that stuff is not the problem. It is the raw material. Our job isn't to stamp it out. Our job is to help them build channels to guide it constructively. And that really leaves us with the question that reframes this whole thing. It moves us away from a battle against their nature and toward a partnership with their brain. How can we as parents, as mentors, become architects of opportunity? How can we help them channel this powerful drive toward a life of purpose and success, not just away from danger? Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so that you're notified when a new video is released. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you soon.